Welcome to CCTV America. I'm Susan Roberts. Ukraine and Russia exchange recriminations. Kiev says that it is proof that Russia provided the missile system that shot down Malaysia Airlines Flight 17. Ukraine has also accused separatists of hiding evidence from the crash site. Russia denies any involvement in the downing of the plane. CCTV's Roe Ruttenberg has more from Kiev. And Roe, we understand there are strong accusations from Kiev tonight. What can you tell us?
Indeed, those accusations started first that the separatists fired that Buck missile that reached the plane at about 10,000 meters and thus downing it on Thursday. Then there were extensions of those accusations suggesting that the Buck missile system came from Russia over the border, and now additional accusations that the men who were required to operate that Buck missile system, the specialists, actually came from Russia and had military backgrounds, the type of specialty required to be able to actually shoot that kind of missile. Very strong accusations, some actually accusing the Russian government of actually having knowledge of the happenings there. Now, it's unclear who they actually believe had the contacts or were involved in this type of organization. They say they have audio recordings and still photos, images showing that equipment was brought in from Russia. We heard other sources suggesting that it was equipment that was left over first in Crimea when Russia annexed that territory. Now we understand that there are fresh accusations that of Russian involvement, of the involvement specifically of Russian military-trained individuals. Of course, Russia denies these accusations. It says it had nothing to do with this incident. It said its nationals had nothing to do with this incident. It continues to blame Ukraine for creating the environment, the ongoing escalation with the separatists, and it says that it wants to see peace talks, dialogue between Kiev and the separatists. And one other note I should point out, two things we're hearing also on Saturday night. One, that the black boxes that everybody's looking for, Ukrainian officials say they believe there are now in the town of Khorlivka, which is in Donetsk People's Republic, the so-called republic there claimed by the separatists. And two, we understand that Denis Pushilin, one of the leaders of that insurgent group that's been fighting Ukraine for so long now, one of the faces that we've seen at the front of all this, he resigned on Friday. We are getting now reports that he is in Russia. Now, there's no obviously admission of guilt there. He hasn't been accused of having been specifically involved, but many people are asking questions why he resigned and why he left, if that's indeed the case.
Roe, if it proves to be that Putin is involved and is behind this, what are the possible repercussions?
Well, we've already heard about calls for additional sanctions. We heard from Washington that they want Europe to beef up its sanctions, the EU and Washington both having their own sanctions, but Europe's considered to be much more minor in comparison to Washington's. So we've already heard that call, additional sanctions. The U.S. had been saving some of its sanctions that would specifically target sectors of Russia's economy for perhaps a ground invasion. That's what we heard from Washington, wanting to keep that card in their pocket. It's unclear now if they will play that card. And of course, greater frustrations in Europe. Nearly 200 of the people on board that flight, Dutch nationals, other European nationals also involved. Undoubtedly, European leaders will be feeling the pressure if it becomes clear that Russia, that the Kremlin, that Moscow had involvement in this. They'll be facing additional pressure to act. It's unclear if that type of sanction, those types of sanctions might stop Moscow. And again, we should reiterate that Russia continues to deny any involvement here, and that's why that crash site is so difficult. Investigators on Saturday night still having difficulty accessing it and accusing separatists here in Ukraine, accusing separatists of hiding some of the evidence, of taking some of the bodies to the city of Donetsk, out of reach of the investigators.
Alrighty, Roe Ruttenberg reporting live with lots of new information from Kiev. Thank you so much for that.